All right, YouTube, this Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit, back with another video on this Monday morning. As you can see, I got on the Detroit Lions. They're division champions. Of course, they did the Vikings bad yesterday, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the wokeness of the Democratic left with black people. Black people are mad and offended that Trump invited the Mississippi marching band to march at his inauguration. Now, the left had their plantation workers in outrage, ridiculing these young people. These young people have probably played instruments most of their lives. This is one of the greatest opportunities for them to play in front of the president and the world. But the left is mad, and they sent their gatekeepers and their attack dogs out to ridicule these young people. Now, as a person who's almost 60, I'm almost 60 years old, and I see the disconnect between older people and young people in our community. And that's because what I've learned from my lifespan and seeing things is that the young people, they're tired of the old guard, the old victim guard, the old everything is about race baiting guard. They're tired of that because they see too many millionaires and billionaires that come from their communities, and they also see the tragedies and the violence on the ground in their communities. That old people speak to none of it. They still with their old Negro spirituals. They still with their slavery. They still with their Jim Crow. They still with all of that instead of saying, we black Americans, we can do what we will. Because you look at the people who claim to be Pan-Africanists. That's a hustle because you ain't going back to Africa. If you even came from Africa, study the history of Samuel K. Doe in Liberia and see what happened the last time a bunch of black people from America tried to go and set up shop in Africa. Read that history of Liberia and Samuel K. Doe. It's on the internet. You can see it. So we look at these people who have made a career and a hustle off race baiting. They've also tapped into the emotionalism and the religiosity of a certain sector of people in our community. You know what I mean? They're so sanctimonious and religious, but everything the Bible say don't do and the Democrats say do, they side with the Democrats over the Bible, over their own people. They're Democrat first. So when the Democrats are dissatisfied, they have a certain amount of Negroes who come out and show their dissatisfaction. Like Malcolm used to say, we sick boss. That's what they say. We sick boss. We mad boss. And they send out their Negroes to attack anything. They are actually attacking these young college students at an HBCU who were invited to play in front of the president. If they weren't invited, they would have been mad. It's like you can't please them because for real, they're working out of Willie Lynch syndrome. Now, you know, they like to call people that are black conservatives sellouts and bootlegs and you know what I mean, and all these other names. But the real sellouts and bootlegs are on their Democratic plantation because they won't even talk about the fact that the Democrats are the ones who fought to uphold slavery. They fought their own brothers and cousins to keep you in bondage. And then when they lost, they created Jim Crow. When that didn't work, they created the Ku Klux Klan. When that didn't work, they created redlining. All these came from the Democrats, the ex-Dixiecrats. Even Joe Biden to this day can get in front of you and tell you, if you don't vote for him, you ain't black. But you forgot that he was a staunch segregationist. He said he didn't even want his children going to school with your children because they would turn the school system into a zoo, into a jungle. He called you super predators. And then he went to Martin Luther King's alma mater and campaigned and sold you victimhood and act as if he followed King, when in all actuality, he was one of the major opponents to Martin Luther King and was a staunch segregationist. And you still come out and you defend that party to the detriment of your own people. So who are the real sellouts, the real bootlicks? If you look at that party, look at the Roland Martins, the D.L. Hugleys, the Ricky Smileys, the Oprah Winfreys, the Steve Harveys. You look at them and all they do is sell you out for the crumbs off that Democratic table. But you act like you don't see that because you're so emotional. They told you that they were about Black lives and Black Lives Matter, but all they market to you is termination of pregnancy. That's all they offer you. You could terminate your child in the name of Black Lives Mattering. You talk about you're a minority. Just think of all the terminations that run into the 20s of millions since Roe v. Wade. You wouldn't even be a minority if you wasn't running to that clinic so much under the guise of feminism and women's rights. You wouldn't even be a minority. You think about that. While you criticize conservatism and while you criticize these young people for going and taking advantage of an opportunity that was offered to them by the President of the United States, President-elect. And you have these emotional people calling for insurrection and calling for all type of nefarious ideas because they unsatisfied or they're dissatisfied with the results of the election, but they don't want it like that because they don't stand on nothing. They're weak. That's why they don't mind terminating pregnancies. That's why they don't mind tap dancing for the Democrats. They don't stand a chance in no type of real conflict. The Oprah Winfrey types, the Whoopi Goldbergs, and the rainbow flags and everything that you march out there in front of patriots will be demolished. You just talking. You know what I mean? And you're talking like you a puppet or a mannequin with the Democratic hand pulling the strings. Because what you say don't even make sense when you're talking about the Democratic Party. You're talking about the party that unalived Abraham Lincoln. They were so mad that he signed an Emancipation Proclamation. You're talking about the people who created the Ku Klux Klan and Jim Crow. These are the people that you coming out defending because they exhort some of you. They put a few black faces in high places to sell you out, like the Congressional Black Gatekeepers Association. You can't call them the Congressional Black Caucus. They are the Congressional Black Gatekeepers. They do nothing but hold us down and sell us a dream and keep telling us we can't make it because of racism. That's what they do. Then they monetize every tragedy and trauma that's inflicted in our communities. You know how many people lose their lives in Detroit and Chicago, and you don't hear nothing from Black Lives Matter? You don't hear from Black Lives Matter until they can monetize it. I'm not even going to tell you how many people lost their lives last week in Detroit, this one city that don't even have 1 million people. But almost every other day, some black person is losing their lives at the hands of another black person. And you don't hear no outrage from Black Lives Matter, from these black preachers who do anything to protect their 501c3 status, who have been compromised by the Democratic Party. That didn't even start until it was with King, when the Democrats were allowed to co-opt the black church, their rostrums, and speak their nonsense. You guys got so mad that y'all wanted to vote in an Indian woman just based off identity politics. Now she's not even black anymore. She's went back to her Indian heritage. Allegedly, she's back, claiming her own, allegedly, and still raising donations as if she has a chance in 2028. And she got a lot of you fooled. A lot of you are fooled by the Democratic plantation? What kind of hold do they have other than a psychological brainwashing that resembles Stockholm syndrome when you consider who they are as a party? They are the party of Jim Crow, the party of the Ku Klux Klan. They were the rebels that tried to tear this republic to shreds to uphold slavery. And they got you over there being mad and fighting your own people because we're off that plantation. Nobody is mad at you for being over there, sticking with your leaders, filling up their coffers with your money, giving them the filthy lucre, turning you against the Bible, the Word, God, and country. They done told you everything in the Bible that God said don't do, you can do under the name of liberalism and inclusion. So we know that if you against God, we know that we can't count on you to stand with your own people because you've already have turned into a Judas in the name of the Democratic Party. So without further ado, I'm gonna get off into these clips. My first one, I'm gonna do a clip with Anton Daniels, and then I'm gonna do a clip of this lady from the Stand of the Truth speaking on this topic about the HBCU students who are going, hopefully, to play in front of the White House at the inauguration. Because Trump did extend the funding for those schools. You can show the man some respect. Don't be like, oh, Roland Martin. Roland Martin was invited to the White House and he took pride in smacking his lips and acting sassy in front of the president. He's proud that he just was so sassy. He couldn't be a gentleman. He had no decorum. Let's get off into the clip. This is for fair use under the 1976 Copyright Act. For commentary, educational purposes, and the First Amendment. Let's check out Anton Daniels first.
People and some ignorant. Mississippi Valley State College was invited to perform at Trump's inauguration. Why do y'all have a problem with that? Well, you would have had a problem with it if he didn't invite your black tail, didn't you? I see he got his white people supporting, and he got him a white college to perform. That's what you would have said if it was a white college performing. But because it's a black college, black people are attacking the black people that are accepting the invite. Y'all are racist. You people are racist against your own. You don't even know what racism means. I know the definition you're trying to refer to. Shut your mouth. Listen. If he would have invited a white college, it would have been a problem. He invited a black college. How about he's just inviting a college to perform? How about we take the black off of it for once? Y'all love to smack black on side. She's the first black such and such. Well, y'all took that title off of Kamala, didn't you? Because now she don't go by being black no more. Oh, remember when she started running at first? The first black woman president. You remember when Megan Thee Stallion was up there making a fool of herself, shaking her behind in front of all of these people, had nothing to do with dancing and partying, had nothing political to say. First black president. That's all she could offer you. But here it is. She wasn't black by the time the race was over. She wasn't even black no more. It's about time that we start having this conversation. It really is. And I'm glad that there are people that are waking up, including prior to the election, but we're continuing this conversation because it didn't die just because Trump won the election. Thank God we have a president that's not affected by different people's opinions, and he's standing on business and he's doing the same thing that he was doing back in 2016. Same story, different year. It was 2016 back then. It's 2025 now, and he was inviting a black HBCU to perform at the inauguration back then. A lot of people wasn't even old enough to vote, but they still outraged because they got the same sentiment in their heart. They got a black heart. It's cold, it's dark, it's evil. And anything and everything that they can make about race, that is exactly what they will do. Anything and everything that they can't go out the house and execute one day, not even one day, without making it race-based. Something. somebody took a grocery store cart from you or picked up your cart or whatever like that. If it was a white woman, oh, it's because I'm black. If it was a black woman, oh, it's because I'm black. Either way, either way, it's going to be because of race. So now, for whatever reason, and we'll get into that, probably by the end of her whole conversation. Always like to link content creators or give credit to content creators, regardless of whether I agree with them or not. I just so happen to agree with her so far. But isn't it funny that not only did that happen, but nothing is affecting what this band is doing, this Mississippi Valley State University. And I'm not even a heavy proponent of separating ourselves based off of race. And that's exactly what an HBCU is, because if you take any other group and you say that this group is designating these set of colleges for themselves, and you can go, but everything culturally, everything foundationally, everything that they promote, everything that they celebrate, everything that they have a conversation about is going to be based off of white people or Asian people or Jewish people or Mexican people or whatever, right? You would be outraged. And I was taught as I was growing up that you never do anything to somebody else that you wouldn't want done to yourself. It's a fundamental principle, even biblically. Loving your neighbor as thyself. But we are, not even say we, because I don't consider myself a part of the culture. I just consider myself an American. I'm a part of American culture, and I don't necessarily care for that either. However, I don't agree with the things that we celebrate the most and we champion the most and we have conversations the most about, that are basically trying to divide you from somebody that can actually benefit you. More division creates more division, and it creates more hate, which then perpetuates, and you pass that generational curse down into your children, and it's not beneficial to them. She wouldn't even acknowledge that title. But y'all mad because Trump, with his white tail, invited a black college. Well, how about Biden? Biden is white. Did y'all forget that? Every other president we've had has been white. Facts. And Barack Obama is not American black. You know what I'm talking about. Because when these people come from other countries, they do not associate with us. They don't say, oh, well, we black like black people. No, they say, oh, I'm Nigerian, I'm this, that, and the third. And that's right, because they not black like us. We're regular black, okay? We ain't even African American. We can't even celebrate one moment of, hey, this will be cool. This is a black college. That's cool. And they going to perform, so they going to put some soul in it or whatever. We can't even just enjoy without y'all getting mad that they accepted the invitation. Well, who wouldn't accept the invitation? It's Donald Trump. And more importantly, it brings more visibility to that HBCU for them to raise money beyond whatever it takes for them to get to the inauguration. So it actually benefits them. If you are looking for visibility, if you are looking for more monies, if you're looking for donations, which last I checked, they are very much on their way to running up a bag and making sure that they get to that bag and all of that stuff, then this is what you want, right? He's not just a president. He's still a celebrity. This man has been a celebrity his whole life, pretty much. He's been invited on all kinds of TV shows. Google, look up any TV show that Trump was invited to. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He's done so many guest appearances. Let us not forget about The Apprentice. Everybody wanted to be on that show, and everybody loved Trump. I heard Trump's name mentioned in a rap song, Ice Cream Paint Job. That song is ghetto. They mentioned Trump in there in a good way. They used Trump to, black people used to love Trump. In Bobby Brown's video, Hey Gun Child. Y'all remember that song? He was featured. Listen, he's been a celebrity his whole life and a businessman. But y'all mad that he done invited y'all black behind to come perform. And I'm not even saying y'all mad. The people that are mad that they accepted the invitation, y'all got a serious problem. It is truly Trump derangement syndrome. I don't care who you are. You could be my family. I do not care. You have a problem. If you have a problem that this man invited a black college. Because what if he would have invited a white one? It would have been a problem.
And I'm going to interject because she hit it on a point that a lot of people is ignoring. They do have Trump derangement syndrome. And this last campaign season, I've been saying for the longest, created the greatest and biggest mental health crisis in our communities ever. These people are having full meltdowns because they believe the narrative. They believe that Trump was a fascist, and they don't even know what fascism is. They compared him to being Hitler, and they've never read or studied what Hitler actually done. They said his followers were brainwashed and Nazis. They believed everything that the Democratic Party said, even though the Democratic Party has been the number one opponent to the elevation and aspirations of our communities, unleashed a horde of immigrants into our communities, set out on a mission to gender reassign our children, and they still come out as if they have some type of moral high road. These people have a sickness. They have a sickness just thinking about what they were going to allow to happen to children. And then they had the nerve to say other people was weird. Really?
It ain't all about race. Yes, it is. You always make it about race. It's always about race with y'all. It's always about race. It's always been about race. It was about race with Kamala. It was about race with Kamala. And now it's race. Now it's all about race with Trump.
It's a fact. She is absolutely cooking. She's right. I 100% agree with her. People always make it about race. Well, let me revise that. Black people mostly always make it about race. It's always something race-based. It's always an issue. It's always a problem. You always, woe is me. You always gonna be against yourself for the system. You always gonna kill your own people and then say Black Lives Matters. You always gonna protect all of the people that's the worst for the community. You always then gonna support the people that's the worst for the community until they become best for the community. And then you gonna turn against them like the Jay-Z's. And I almost think for a minute that people are voluntarily cursing themselves forever and their lineage because the kids are the ones that pay for the sins of their parents and their fathers. Probably we could deduce that it might not even be your fault. It may be your parents and your grandparents and the people that came before you that probably justifiably had a gripe with what was going on.
And I'm adding on to what he said because it's interesting. It reminds me of the story out the Bible with Moses and the children of Israel. The children of Israel had to wander in the wilderness for 40 years until they died out because God had determined they were unfit to see the promised land because of their cowardice. And then he allowed Joshua to enter into the promised land and the young people. See, them baby boomers and even a lot of the Generation X with me, they have demonstrated an obedience, a lapdog type of obedience to the Democratic Party. They hung the Kennedys and King and all these Lyndon B. Johnson. They hung their pictures on their walls like they were idols. They started worshiping the Democratic Party. They tried to force feed the Democratic Party down the community's throat as if these people were God sent, even though these people had been the number one afflictors and tormentors of Black people. Again, I told you, the Ku Klux Klan that people talk about came out of the Democratic Party, along with Jim Crow and redlining. They fought to uphold slavery. These are the same people. This is why they call Jim Crow Joe. And you come out and you fight for him, and then you wonder why there's a disconnection from the youth. I agree with that. These older people have cursed their children. They were willing to let their children be gender reassigned on an elementary school level. They go against the Bible, the church. You got the Jamal Bryans, the T.D. Jakes, and all these false prophets and apostate preachers. They like the children of Israel. They have to wonder 40 years until they just are extinct and they are no longer among us with their race baiting and their race hustling.
At that time, and then they pass that generational curse on to you instead of changing your narrative and the mindset and being better for you. They were worse for you when you exponentially worse off, and yet you continue to make it about race and you running in the victim Olympics at the same time. Again, I think that people should be indifferent or supportive because this place has done nothing wrong and they're actually going to probably benefit as a university from the extra visibility, especially if they do a really.
This was about to be over. Shout out to Anton Daniels of this show. I want to show you this sister. She's speaking on the same topic.
Don't know what to feed your dogs? Step 1, get the farmer's dog. Buying 2 different types of food for 2 different dogs. So wrong. And you know what it is? Y'all know, like, it's the wrongshousness in these. But
I'm not gonna play a lot of it. I just wanted to give you some of what she said as it relates to this topic.
Have you guys heard of the story where at HBCU in Mississippi Valley State University, you guys, they were invited to play at the inauguration of 45 and 47 President Donald J. Trump. And Black Twitter done lost their mind. Black Twitter done lost their mind. Black TikTok has lost their mind. I'm telling you, all the Black ignorants have come out and acted a plumb fool against these young people. And I want to talk about it today. And so the first thing or aspect of this I want to talk about is the fact that there used to be a time in this country that regardless of your political affiliation, at the end of the day, it was universally understood that you were an American. If you were born in this country, you're like, I'm an American. My side didn't win. I may not necessarily like the side that won, but he is our president. I'm an American. And to be invited to the inauguration to play such an integral role, it was an honor. But see, progressivism has dulled and dumbed the minds of so many people, particularly ones that look like me. And what it has done is it has stoked the flames of hatred in our hearts, and not just racism or ethnic partiality toward those who don't look like us, but we will then extend that same racism and hatred and partiality. We will inflict it upon ourselves, people who look like us, because we, individuals who do this, I'll say that, have not learned how to function in their freedom. And so, because they haven't learned how to function in their freedom, and they don't have any joy, and they don't know how to be an individual, they have to jump on the bandwagon with the group. And so if the group says that is bad, you don't have to independently research for yourself to affirm or deny that over there is bad. You just agree with it, and you can't explain why. You just parrot what you've been told because you're brainwashed. And so what I want to do is I want to highlight a few aspects of this story that I thought was interesting. So first, Mississippi State is in the state of Mississippi. No, Lord, I sound like Kamala. Ukraine is a little... Anyway, Mississippi State is in Mississippi. Mississippi is a red state, okay? And not only is Mississippi a red state, but it is a state school. So even though it's an HBCU, that means they are getting funding from taxpayers, and they get federal funding to exist. So the president of Mississippi Valley, he gets paid by the federal government. They are the ones who provide his salary and the funding for everyone there. So if the White House sends to a red state and requests for a particular school that is state-run to be in attendance at the inauguration, not only is it an honor, but you kind of have to go. Mississippi's a red state. The implications, let's just say that Mississippi Valley, which is located in Mississippi, which is in a red state, decides to get in their fields, right, and cave into the wokeness and decide they're gonna pull a Colin Kaepernick and they gonna protest and bow the knee and not go. What? This does not benefit the school at all to be woke and ignorant. It would.
I'm gonna end with her question, because she laid down, and that's why I wanted you to hear. It's the Standard of Truth podcast. So you go see everything else she said, but I wanted to get to that part. That Mississippi State is in a red state and funded through the federal government, and funding was extended to that particular college by Trump. Why would they boycott the beneficiary? Because of wokeism on the left, misguided loyalty to a failed party. Why would they do that? Why would other black people even call and ask for them to do that? That's the question I want to be on. Why are they even calling and asking for these young people to snub their nose at one of the greatest opportunities possibly in their lifetime? I'm going to end on that note. Well, this is Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit. Support the nonprofit and the channel. The nonprofit, Detroit's Black Thought and Ask Collective. The Cash App is in the channel description. As always, salute to all patrons and keep y'all head on the swivel. Peace and salute to all the patrons. Again, like, share, and subscribe.